on the screen. There we go, fucking finally. Jesus Christ. I've already missed a lap. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for the little delay getting the comms on here tonight. I just, for some reason, the stream wasn't showing up on the actual YouTube channel. Basically, you have to tick about 5 different boxes. And when I say 5 different boxes, I mean you have to go through about 5 different processes to actually make a stream go live. You have to click start streaming on your streaming software. You have to then check to see if it's gone live on the actual YouTube studio. Then you've got to click go live on the YouTube studio, and then if you click off the tab before it's actually gone live, you have to sit there and wait and think, why is it not gone live? And then you have to go back and check, and it's not gone live until you actually sit on the tab and wait for it to go live. So if you click off of the tab whilst it's going live, it doesn't go live, so you just sat there waiting thinking you're live and you're not. Anyway, look, never mind, it doesn't matter, alright? It doesn't matter, okay, look, I've just got to compartmentalise my anger right now and just get on with it. So, we got Lucan leading the race, Jazzman in second place. Jazzman did take pole position in the qualifying session. Lucan was very close to him. Luca did actually take the win last week at Misano. Obviously, with Jazzman not racing and a few incidents, obviously PS Fit wasn't able to start the race on the track. He had to start from the pits due to a little bit of a glitch. But yeah, Luca took the win last week. Can he make it 2 wins in a row here tonight with Jazzman right up his rear at the moment? These two, 1 and 2. You got Max Power there in 3rd place, not too far away from these guys, actually keeping them very much on the same page pardon me, that was a hiccup at this point. You got R Parker there in 4th, who's got Ludo just over a second behind him. PS Fitz there running in 6th. He's a couple of seconds clear of Raki, who's had a good first couple of laps here, and he's up into 7th place. There's Spuzz ahead of High Grade, followed by Corday, who's running in that final top 10 spot at the moment, followed by Scooter and Paul and Epiphany, who are having a good little banner here for 11th and 12th places. Bit of a way back to Brando in 13th place. Then you got RGT ahead of Hunters, M Prestas, new to the league actually tonight, his first appearance. We got Tom Quarantine there in 16th, followed by Twolo. Yellow Army in the pits very early, so I don't know what's happened to him. And Awesome Gumball has come in the pits for a shimmer drive-through and has actually got a stop go penalty whilst he's at it, so a bit of a double whammy there for Awesome Gumball. But currently you got Luca here, who's got a 4/10 of a second gap at the moment, but Jazzman is crawling all over the back of him right now, and Max Power is right there as well, waiting in the wings, hoping they might be able to pounce here potentially. In the background you can see Ludo running a little bit wide there as they came through the out on the exit of the second chicane, but gets away with it for the time being then, and he's still ahead of PS Fitz at the moment as he goes really wide there. Does PS Fitz coming out at the hairpin, gets a little bit of cross action there, but again keeping it pointing in the right direction at the moment. But let's go back to the lead battle here, because Lucas still got Jazzman on the back of him, but he seems to be holding Jazzman up a little bit, and now Max Power has arrived on the scene, very much so here in the rearview mirrors of Jazzman. Jazzman will want to clear Luca as quickly as he can and get on with this, so he doesn't end up losing time and potentially even losing a position to Max Power. But these 3 leaders have gapped R Parker a little bit, 4 seconds behind, running in 4th place. You've got Ludo there in 5th ahead of PS Fitz, Raki there in 7th still, a little way clear of Spars, who's a couple of seconds clear of High Grade. Corday not too far off the back of High Grade at the moment. Epiphany's still pressuring Scuderia Paul as they're coming towards the final chicane, having a little look, show him the inside, but Brando's going to try and go around the outside of Epiphany here. And I tell you what, Brando with a great late braking manoeuvre around the outside there. Doesn't get it stopped in time, he goes a little bit wide. He might have got a warning, a track limits warning for that one, but he's managed to make the move stick. And down the hill they come towards the final sort of, it's not really a hairpin, it's more of a U-bend because it's two corners really. But Epiphany's trying to send one back down the inside of Brando. Brando has it covered though, holds on to 12th place for the time being then. So that's job done there now for Epiphany there, Brando there, up into 12th place. It's saying that he's behind Epiphany, but that's a lie. He's actually ahead of him now. As they cross over the line, you'll be able to see there, Brando into 12th and Epiphany into 13th place. Let's keep an eye on the battle for the front because that max power is now within 0.2 of a second of Jazzman. He is right on his rear bumper at this point. Lucas just managed to gap them a little bit. He's got almost a second now to Jazzman in the lead of this race. You've got PS5 still putting the pressure on Ludo. These guys have dropped off at the back of our Parker a little bit over the course of the last lap or so. High Grade's closed right up onto the back of Spuzz here as they're coming into the hairpin. Corday's right on this pack as well, on this pair. High Grade there wide, really wide onto the grass. Will that allow Corday to have a look? And he's just a little bit too far back as they're coming up the hill. Over the dip they come, and for the time being he's going to have to wait and watch and hope his opportunity might come here. But at the moment High Grade just keeping on to that. Despite that little mistake there, he maintains 9th place here in this race. As Lucas still your race leader, but Jazzman and Max Power separated by 0.3 of a second as they're coming down the hill. It's about to, well, they're going to come around to commit their 5th lap in due course, but we can see Max Power looking to the inside here, trying to get a little run here on Jazzman. I wonder if Jazzman has gone for a full tank here tonight. I know he did in the first round of the season at the Nürburgring, and he was saying for the rest of the season he wants to half tank it and enjoy his racing a little bit more. Well, so far tonight it looks like he's not really had the pace that we usually used to seeing from Jazzman, so I wonder if he has put a full tank of fuel in. Potentially Luca has gone for a half tank and maybe that's why he's got a little bit more pace over Jazzman at this point. But Max Power's looking to the outside here on Jazzman. Jazzman's got to defend as he just squeezes Max Power to the edge of the track and pushes him wide, and that was a very Hamilton Verstappen type move there. Jazzman there just pushing him a little bit wide. Max Power gets the move, and Max Power should really be giving that position back here because he gained it off the track. He might argue that Jazzman pushed him wide. Jazzman maybe he's going to pick his battles here and think, well, I might as well play the strategy here and keep myself in the hunt. But in the background here you've got Ludo still running just ahead of PS Vids. These two, Ludo and PS Vids, have actually gained on our Parker a little bit over the last couple of laps here. So they're chipping away at that gap. Raki doing his thing in 7th place, driving a very solid race here tonight. Spuzz there in 8th. He's got a few seconds back here to High Grade, who's just ahead of Corday at this point. You've got Scuderia Paul there running in 11th place still. He's a couple of seconds now clear of Brando, who's still got Epiphany on the back of him, and Hunter's right there as well. You can see waiting in the wings, waiting for an opportunity maybe to come at these guys. But currently Brando's keeping ahead of Epiphany for the time being then. Also keeping an eye on the battle for 2nd place because Max Power's still got Jazzman on the back of him, but Luca has managed to sail away with this race lead in the first few laps of this race. He's now got a 2.6 second lead, so it's gone really well so far for Luca here in this 3rd round of the season for the PS5 GT3 Kia Motive. Max Power and Jazzman still pretty close there in 2nd and 3rd. There's our Parker, who's got Ludo just behind him, a second between our Parker and Ludo. PS Vids has just dropped off of these two a little bit over the last lap or so. So not quite on the pace of these guys at the moment, but this battle for 4th, little way off of the podium places at this point. Max Power driving a heck of a race here tonight in 2nd place, and he's actually gaining on Luca. Now he's ahead of Jazzman. He's actually chipping away at that gap to Luca. Obviously these guys lost a bit of time to Luca due to the fact that they were battling and they had a bit of contact through this corner on the previous lap, but now they seem to have just got each other's back at this point, potentially just playing the team game here, hoping to catch back up to Luca, maybe keep him under pressure here in this race. But the gap's still, it's just over 2 seconds between Luca and those two. There's our Parker ahead of Ludo. Our Parker's gapped Ludo a little bit over the course of this lap, and PS Vids has also fallen off at the back of Ludo, so those three pulling away from each other at this point. Raki there in 7th place is dropping off of these guys as well now. Spuzz has gapped High Grade by a couple of seconds. Corday there running in 10th place is falling off at the back of High Grade. There's Scuderia Paul maybe gaining a little bit on Corday. Did Corday make a mistake on that last lap? Potentially a mistake coming into it there, as Hunters has gone ahead of Brando and Epiphany here. So Hunters is now up into 12th place. Brando's is there, Brando wide. That might allow Epiphany a run around the outside here of the hairpin. Can he get that done? Epiphany's going to try and all the way around the outside, but Brando's got the inside line. holding on to that one for the time being. Great driving there from Brando. Good grit and determination there from him as Tom Quarantine is now arriving on the scene here and might fancy his chances to pick both of these two off, but currently Brando there holding on to 13th place by the skin of his teeth, but these two both losing out to Hunters, who's now up into 12th place. Jazzman is still on the back of Max Power at this point, but these two have dropped off of Luca over the course of this lap. Now Luca has responded to their pace. He's also setting the fastest laps of the race at this point, so Luca, your man to beat at this point. Max Power still just ahead of Jazzman at the moment though, as these guys come over the line to complete their 7th laps of this race. The race just starting to settle down now. This battle between Max Power and Jazzman isn't really a battle at this point. Jazzman's not really putting the pressure on like we've seen him do in the past. We know that Jazzman's a driver who doesn't tend to put the pressure on at this stage in the race. He usually just plays it cool. He'll be probably feeling a little bit peeved with Max Power's conduct coming into the chicane a couple of laps ago. Maybe he would feel that Max Power was wrong. I don't know, they did kind of just move across on each other a little bit. I'd say it was a racing incident to be fair, but obviously Max Power went straight across the chicane and gained the position on Jazzman, and Jazzman I think is just now kind of reining in maybe the frustration that he might be feeling over that incident, just kind of keeping it cool, keeping it calm, not getting ahead of himself. He knows that it's a long race and he's in a good position right now, especially if he's pulled tactics. We're not quite sure what he's done with his strategy at this point. That could very well play a factor later on in this race, but Corday and Tuono they're both in the pits at the end of lap 7, so they're getting their pit stops done and out of the way very early on here. Awesome Gumball got his done at the end of the first lap. And one thing I realised, last week we had a glitch which meant that we couldn't set a mandatory pit stop in the actual race, and so what we did this week is I've set it so that the pit window is 4,000 seconds. Or no, 3,600 seconds I set it to. So that essentially means that the pit window is the length of the race. It's an hour. So as soon as the green light goes, basically the pit window's open. It's a little workaround that I figured out. there because obviously it's common knowledge, 3,600 seconds in an hour. So I set the pit window to 3,600 seconds, thinking right, that's gonna, I assume, fix any problems. And obviously setting a mandatory pit window kind of forces the pit stop. Whereas if you just put the pit stop count's going to be 1. It doesn't actually trigger it for some reason. On this PS5 version of ACC it just doesn't trigger it, so we managed to get that working. But PS Fit nonetheless is on the back of Ludo. You can see 0.6 of a second currently separating those two. Max Power and Jazzman still half a second between those two at the moment. There's our Parker running in 4th place, little way clear of Ludo, who's still got PS Fits really hassling him. These guys have continued to gap Raki, but Raki currently is in a bit of a window where he's not quite on the pace of the top 6, but he is definitely a step above the mid-pack. So Raki's kind of like the best of the rest, I suppose, in this one at this point. Raki was telling me the other day, he's raced with us in the F1 League for the last few seasons. He says that he's now putting all of his eggs into ACC. He said that he's focusing solely on ACC here at Motive on the PS5 and the PC. Hopefully we'll have news for you on that one very soon. We're going to be coming to the PC next year here at Motive, which is, it's been a long time coming, because obviously we've talked about going onto the PC now for some time, and so hopefully we'll be seeing guys like Raki out on the track in that one. Also, there's a few guys who used to race with us on console who I'm sure would be looking to get back involved here at Motive, because one thing I've always found a little bit putting out is that basically it's always been like a stepping stone Motive. It's always been console sim racers come here, race for a few seasons, and then they're like, right, I'm moving on to PC. It's always seen as like a bridge to better things, and obviously I want this to be, I like this to be a kind of a solid platform in its own right, a reasonable prestige. So that's the aim. Obviously we're wanting to get onto PC and have a bit more clout amongst sim leagues. So obviously, it'd be nice to have drivers aspire to race in this league rather than it be a stepping stone to better leagues. So yeah, that's the aim. That's what we're trying to do. So yeah, hopefully we'll be putting those. Well, we've been putting out the sign-ups for the PC league very soon. I'm thinking of running the Sprint League on Wednesday and running an endurance sort of 1 hour with a pit stop on Sunday, like we've got here, but obviously we'll be running it before the PS5, so we'll be running the PC League probably about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then running the PS5s about 8 or 9, something like that. You know, we'll fit it all in, we'll find a way, we always do, but yeah, hopefully that's going to be something that I'll be putting out. Well, I'm putting it out in the next week or so, probably on Tuesday or Wednesday, because that's when I've actually got a day free for once, because man's been working 50-hour weeks every week for like the last bloody, I don't even know, like for an eternity now. So it's not been, opportunities haven't really been coming for me to really just get my head down and get some work done in terms of prepping for a new season. But fear not, it's in the back of my mind. I've written so many notes pages on my phone, ideas for schedules, ideas for what to do. Oh my god, it's just, there's so much stuff that I've been jotting down, and it's just about putting that all of those thoughts and all of those ideas, it's actually about bringing them to fruition, and that's obviously got to be the next step here. But currently we can see Max Power is really gaining on Luca losing a bit of time to these two, Max Power and Jazzman. You can see the gap's now only 1.2 between Luca and Max Power, so these two continuing to chip away lap after lap after lap. And yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a 3-way battle once again very shortly here. Lucas seems pretty strong in the first sector. The gap's always staying the same in the first sector. It's the second and third sectors where Max Power and Jazzman are bringing that gap down. You can see our Parker there's running in 4th place, 7 seconds behind these guys at the moment. PS Vids there running in P5. You've got Raki there, a little way behind PS Vids. Still the gap between PS Vids and Raki. It's not going up massively actually. It's just under 5 seconds, and it's been like that actually for the last few laps. So Raki's now matching PS Vids, but PS Vids not on the pace of our Parker. Ludo there's running in 7th place. He's well clear of high grade, but obviously Ludo made a couple of mistakes earlier on and has dropped down to 7th place. He was running in P5 earlier on. High grade there in 8th ahead of Spuzz, who's running in 9th place still in this race. There's Scooter Paul, who's running in P10. He's a couple of seconds clear of Hunters, who's chasing him down actually. So Hunters is starting to get into a bit of a rhythm now. He must have had a bad start because he was pretty strong in qualifying. I think he was in the top 7 I think in qualifying, so he must have had a bit of a sketchy start to the race, but nonetheless he is now getting his foot down and closing the gap to the leaders. You've got Epiphany there who's 3 seconds behind Hunters. Brando there is 7 seconds behind Epiphany at this point, and RGT, the last driver still yet to pit in this race. You got Corday, Tom, Yellow Army, Tuono and Awesome Gumball, who have all been into the pits to make their pit stops already, so they've already got their pit stops done and out of the way. They haven't got to worry, they haven't got to stress, they haven't got to work themselves up and get themselves in a horrible psychological twist because they haven't done their pit stop. They can just breathe, relax, calm down and get on with their race. But currently you can see Lucas still leading this race by 1.3 seconds ahead of Max Power. You can see Jazzman within half a second of him at the moment. Still trying to put the pressure on him, but can't seem to find a gap, can't seem to force Max Power into a mistake at this point. So yeah, he's just waiting, just hoping, maybe praying that he can keep himself there on the strategy, obviously. But yeah, we'll have to see how that pans out, I suppose, won't we? But nonetheless, we can see Hunters is on the back of Scooter Paul here. He's really close as they're coming into turn 1, but for the time being it doesn't look like Hunters is able to get ahead of Scooter Paul. Scooter Paul's just keeping him at arm's length. He's just holding him out of that reach, but Hunters has gained so much time on him on that last lap, so I think it's going to be a matter of time until we see Hunters getting himself into that top 10 spot. Jazzman's still on the back of Max Power right now in this battle for 2nd place. These guys just under 2 seconds behind Lucas still in this race. Still no opportunities really presenting themselves at this stage for Jazzman to make that move, but I don't think he's really pushing it. He's not really in a bit of a rush, Jazzman, at all. He's just waiting. He's just I think he's just playing a strategy here in this race. He's not really trying to force Max Power into a mistake. Max Power, if some of you don't know, is actually the same person as F1 Ken Power. I believe he is anyway. I might actually be wrong there, but I think he is. Do you know what? I might be making a complete and utter idiot of myself there. I think he is, but I don't 100% know. But I think he's the same person as F1 Ken Power. Those who play Project Cars 2 on console will know him, and will also know Jazzman as well. And I'm sure pretty much everybody here played Project Cars 2 at some point on console. I think that's kind of like for a lot of people when a sim racing journey started off. It's certainly when mine started off in earnest. I played Gran Turismo when I was a kid, but I was never into organised sim racing until about maybe 3.5 years ago now, maybe. Founded a league called Rubbings Racing back in June of 2019 it was, actually. And yeah, from then on, kind of like that's just been where my life's been sort of focused, really. Organised sim racing, setting up leagues, commentating on live races. That's pretty much all I've been doing for, I'd say, probably about the last 1,200 days. Yeah, probably about the last 1,200 24-hour cycles. That's been like the main focus or objective in my life. But nonetheless, here we go. We got Jazzman looking to the inside here on Max Power into that final U-bend, the double left-hander, having a look, trying to force him into a mistake, with Max Power just holding him off at the moment, keeping himself just about within that comfortable range where Jazzman's not quite able to send one down the inside. For the time being, it's still Max Power in P2. The more that these two battle, though, it's going to give Luca the impetus just to pull away. You can see just how much time he's gained through that final part of the lap. He gained 7/10 in that one sector alone. The gap is now 2.3 seconds between Luca and Max Power, as Jazzman once again looking on the back of Max Power into turn 1, but still not close enough. Maybe he's just playing the long game here, knows that it's not worth making a mistake and messing it all up, as Hunters, well, he was on the back of Scuderia Bull trying to get into P10. He has now lost quite a bit of time here, and he's now behind Epiphany, so he's got to now get his head down and try and gain that time that he's lost. So Hunter's now down to P12 here in this race. Obviously the top 14 is still coming to make the pit stop. Everybody from 15th down to 18th has already been in to make their stop. So these four, Corday, Tom, Yellow Army and Tuono, who've all been in already in this race. Luca with the fastest lap, also the race leader. Max Power's got Jazzman crawling over the back of him here, coming down the hill. I'll tell you what, Jazzman's got to be sort of weighing up his options now, thinking, well, I can either tuck in and let Max Power get his foot down, or he's got to be thinking at this point, maybe Max Power's not quick enough and he's got to go for a move. Jazzman looking to the inside into the chicane. Is he going to send one? He thought about it, but then thought better of it. But I think Jazzman's now starting to realise if he wants to keep in this battle with Luca, he needs to clear Max Power as soon as possible, because Max Power is currently not showing the pace that Jazzman needs him to keep both of them in this hunt for the win. So Jazzman, I think, needs to sort of like cut his ties with Max Power and say, look mate, sorry, you're not doing the job, you're not doing the business for me anymore, I've got to dispatch you. But these guys coming out to the start finish straight. Jazzman throwing a little feint there, thought about going into the pits, then thought no, he thought to himself, wait a little bit longer here until he's going to come in. So Jazzman thought about coming in, and I don't know if it was meant to be a bluff maybe, but nonetheless he is continuing on his way for the time being, as these 2.3 seconds behind the race leader Luca at this point. As we can see, Hunters has closed onto the back of Epiphany here, 0.4 of a second currently separating these two. RGT's got within a second of Corday, but Corday, in fact Corday's got ahead of RGT, sorry. So Corday has already been into the pits. He's now cleared RGT and is up into clean air into 14th place. But Max Power still erased second place at this stage, ahead of Jazzman. You can see also on the timing board that Hunters is still trying to get ahead of Epiphany up into 11th place, as these guys are coming into the final corner. And can Hunters get a nice run going down out of the last corner down the start finish straight? He'll pick up a nice toe here as they're coming down the start finish, and might have a chance to send one maybe into turn 1 here on Epiphany. So here we go, he's getting a bit of closing speed here as they now come down towards the first corner. He's just a little bit too far back at the moment, his Hunters, to make that move. Epiphany's just got enough of a gap at this stage to hold him off. Jazzman's still on the back of Max Power. You can see these two, they're just coming down the hill towards the final section of the lap, and still Jazzman a little bit too far away. He's a bit further away this time than he has been on previous laps, so that looks like Max Power's just managed to respond a little bit. Hunter's still trying to get ahead of Epiphany, but still hasn't been able to do it at this stage. These two, the only battles really going on at the moment. He's got Max Power and Jazzman over second place, and you've got Epiphany and Hunters battling out over 11th and 12th, and the race leader Lucas still continuing to keep that gap at just over 2 seconds to these two who are battling over P2. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who's tuned in so far tonight. Guys, if you're enjoying this PS5 GT3 League, please do drop a like on the video. The reason why we haven't got too many of us watching tonight is because I didn't manage to post the link to the stream until we were actually underway, so none of the drivers were able to share it with any friends or people who they wanted to sort of check out the stream, which is usually the main source of viewers, is friends of the drivers and stuff like that. So as a result, there's not many of you watching, but to those who are tuning in, I massively appreciate you. If you can, please do drop a like on the video. It helps us out an enormous amount. It actually helps us out more than you could ever know. Even every single like, honestly, if we can get it to double figures on the likes, maybe 20 likes like last week, potentially that would be absolutely amazing, guys, if we can do that. But no pressure. Ludo coming into the pits nonetheless here at the end of lap 15, so he's making his mandatory pit stop here. He will be the 5th driver in this race to come in and make his stop, and that leaves just 13 drivers left in this race to get their pit stops done and out of the way once he's come to the end of the pit lane and done his. Lucas still got a gap at 2.3 to Max Power. Jazzman still crawling all over the back of Max Power right now, but just can't seem to find a gap. Oh, Max Power's gone deep coming into the chicane. Jazzman swoops up the inside. Thank you very much, says Jazzman. But Max Power even has got a better run actually coming out of the chicane. Down the hill they come towards the final corner. He managed to get a much better exit, but Jazzman putting out the inside. Luca cuts him off and keeps onto the position there. Jazzman thought about it, but I think maybe he's probably picking his battles at this point, as Luca, the race leader, is into the pits, and so is Max Power. That was a late call there from Max Power. I think Jazzman has to take evasive action there to avoid him. So Luca and Max Power both in. Now Jazzman in some clean air. The question is, can Jazzman now get the overcut here on Max Power, get his foot down in some clean air? He has got traffic, which is not going to help him in his quest to try and jump Max Power here, but nonetheless, Luca, the race leader, into the pits. Max Power there stopping in his box just behind him, or just in front of him, but just after Luca's come in. Now let's keep an eye on these guys, because we want to see what they're doing in the pit stops. Are they putting fuel in, or are they changing tyres? What are they doing to their cars? Who's going to have the quicker stop? Luca obviously stopped in his box first, as he was the race leader. That's the BMW there behind, and you've obviously got the other BMW there in front. Max Power there is obviously came into his box after Luca did, so we're expecting Luca should go first. If they're doing the same amount of work to their cars, you'd think Luca would be first off the jacks, and yes he is. So that's Luca now off and away. So Luca there and Max Power, very similar pit stop times, I think. Possibly Luca a little bit quicker, by about maybe 5 seconds. So I wonder if maybe Luca's not putting as much fuel, maybe, potentially that could be the case. Maybe he ran it a little bit heavier in the first stint than Max Power did. Nonetheless, Luca's now I'd say about 5 seconds ahead of Max Power, maybe a little bit more. But we'll have to wait and see as that goes on what that gap is between those two. So Luca comes out just behind Hunters. No, he doesn't. He comes out way behind Hunters. So who is that in front of Luca? There's no one in front of Luca. What am I talking about? I'm talking absolute rubbish. No, I'm not. He comes out just ahead of Brando. So there was a car there. I completely didn't even clock what type of manufacturer it was. It's a McLaren, obviously. Hunters driving in the BMW. So not even close to being similar. The colour's completely different. I don't know why I got those confused, but nonetheless, Lucam is now up into some clean air ahead of Brando, and Max Power's come out behind Brando. So the gap between Luca and Max Power, I said it was just over 5 seconds. It's 5.8 between those two. So Luca's gained about 3 seconds in the pit stop, so I assume he put in a bit less fuel, and maybe he ran a bit more heavy in that first stint, or potentially Max Power's just being a little bit more cautious with the fuel, making sure he's got enough in the tank. Maybe Luca has sort of figured it out to a T and put in the exact right amount. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, how this all goes. But the big question now, those two had quite long pit stops, so I imagine they probably half tanked it. The big question now is, has this man put a full tank of fuel in his car? If he hasn't, then we're expecting him, he'll probably come out in a similar vicinity to the other two as he was beforehand. Obviously with Max Power having a slow pit stop, you'd imagine that if Jazzman has a normal pit stop and puts in the right amount of fuel, he should come out theoretically he should come out just behind, or sorry, just ahead, in between them. You would think he'd come out in between them if he puts in a normal amount of fuel, has a normal length pit stop, but this could all change very quickly. You know, if he's got damage or anything like that, he shouldn't have damage, but any little external factors that might come into it, that would be if he's half tanked it. If he's full tanked the car, it will be a simple stop and go here for Jazzman. He'll be in and out of that pit stop and away quicker than you even know, and at this point he seems to be going beyond the halfway point. Now, from my experience as a commentator on this ACC game, when drivers don't come in at the halfway point, you can usually assume that they have full tanked the car, because if you half tank it, you're going to try and split the race in half. You're going to try and do the same stint length on each set of tyres. Obviously that makes sense. So my intuition is telling me that Jazzman has probably full tanked it, and considering he was only 2 seconds off at the back of Luca before the pit stops, that could definitely mean that Jazzman might have quite a sizable lead over those two when he comes out after his pit stop. He probably spend about 10 or 15 seconds less in the pits than the other two, which would probably mean that he would come out, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 seconds clear of Luca. But again, you know, this is all speculation at this point. I don't actually know. I haven't spoken to anybody. I haven't asked anybody what their strategy is. I don't look at their streams, because I think that's part of the interest. That's part of the excitement of not knowing what strategy people are on. So you can kind of be guessing. It means you can't predict everything, and you can't always know the answers. And that, as a commentator, is more exciting than knowing everything that's happening. But currently Jazzman is your race leader at this point, but we believe the net race leader essentially is Luca, but Jazzman, we think, might be able to have a quicker pit stop than Luca had. But Jazzman's currently 13 seconds clear of our Parker in second place. Raki there is in third. PS Vids must have made a mistake, because he's down in fourth place and he's 4 seconds behind Raki at this point. So I don't know what's happened there to PS Vids, but he's clearly had some kind of incident somewhere out there. Hunters has he dropped off at the back of Epiphany? I think he has. He was on the back of him a little while ago. He's now fallen off of him. So Hunter's making a few mistakes here at this point. Obviously it's his debut here tonight, so we weren't expecting a perfect night from him, but nonetheless he seems to just be dropping it in places and just not having the ideal night. He had quick pace in the qualifying session, but so far in the race it's been a bit of a spotty race for him, as we can see Raki here coming into the pits at the end of lap 19, or is it lap? Yeah, it's lap 19 for him. So Raki there coming in and getting his pit stop done and out of the way. Scooter Paul has got done for a stop-go penalty. Oh, we already knew about that, sorry, yep, that had already come up on the screen, for speeding in the pit lane when he came in to do his pit stop. So Scooter Paul there will have to come in and do that stop-go penalty at some point over the next 2 laps, but obviously be wisely advised to get it done and out of the way, I would imagine. But Raki there is nonetheless in the pits at this point, currently sat in his pit box. It's a high grade now, up into 4th place. Might as well move up into 5th, but obviously this will all change once we get to the end of the race. As we can see, Hunters is now right on the back of Epiphany coming into turn 1. Once again, not quite close enough to turn 1 coming into turn 1, but now it's looking like Hunters is starting to get into a bit of a rhythm, maybe trying to cut out the mistakes that we've seen in the first half of this race, and starting to make amends now for a slightly a few little mishaps to say, but currently he's still there right with Epiphany at this point. Scooter Paul needs to come in and make his stop-go penalty at some point. This is the only battle really going on out on track at this point between Epiphany and Hunters. Keeping an eye on the other gaps, but there isn't really much else going on at this point. But obviously Epiphany was new to the league at the start of this season. Hunters joined for this race actually. He signed up a few weeks ago. I accepted his sign up, but he didn't realise that he'd been accepted into the league, and he actually messaged me a couple of days ago saying, "Oh, I just realised, just got your message on Discord, just realised you've accepted me into the league." He said he would be there this Sunday, and he has indeed turned up this Sunday, which is obviously great to see. As we can see, Scooter and Paul now come into the pits to do his stop-go penalty, and that is a massive shame there for him, as he comes into the box now and will have to wait 30 seconds until we can actually get going again. So that is very frustrating there, indeed. As we can see, Jazzman's now coming up on the back of I think that's Hunters, is it? No, it's not Hunters, it's somebody with a very similar livery indeed. It's not even a BMW, is it? I'm an actual mongrel. Oh dear. Sorry guys, I'm just not paying attention, am I? I'm just not paying attention to what I'm looking at. Jazzman here is now on the back of another back marker here, and that would appear to be, is that? I'm not even going to guess. Because I'm just going to make a complete and utter mockery of myself if I do. I think it's Corday. Yeah, it is Corday, yeah. So Jazzman is just about to put a lap here on Corday as we move on to lap 22 of the race, and so that's the stop-go penalty now cleared for Scooter Red Bull. So he's now got that done and out of the way, and he can now continue on his way without having to stress and worry himself and get any more sleepless nights, because it's now done and it's now out of the way. So that's great stuff there for him. But currently you can see Corday has now been lapped by Jazzman. Jazzman now up into clean air as R. Parker, P2 in the race, is now coming into the pits. So he was now stopping into the box. PS5 is also now on his way into the pits. And there's somebody in between them, that's RGT, who's coming into the pits as well. So those three coming in at the end of lap 21, as we're currently now well over halfway through this race here for round 3 of the PS5 GT3 League Automotive here at Imola. And Jazzman is still your race leader, but he wasn't leading before the pit stops. Luca was leading the race. It was Max Power who was running in second place, and Jazzman was in third. But Jazzman is actually setting fastest laps of the race now. He seems to be growing in confidence as his fuel load starts to drop. He's starting to pick up the pace. He's maybe been tyre saving in the first part of the race, and now that he's got the clean air, he's really pushing. I'm surprised to see that Luca hasn't really been banging any fastest lap times here, because obviously, you know, you'd have thought with the situation Luca's in, being on fresh tyres, you would have thought you'd have the pace over him, but at this stage it's not looking like that at all. R. Parker, Hunters, PS Vids and RGT all in the pits here at the end of lap 21. So they've all got their pit stops now done and out of the way. Jazzman here is coming over the line to complete lap 22, and he's coming down towards turn 1 here. He's got a bit of traffic just up ahead of him, so I'm just looking up to see. Can't really see who that is at this point. It might be, is it no, I'm going to stop guessing. Oh, wait. No, I'm going to stop guessing because I'm just not very good at this. Not doing it. RGT, drive-through penalty, forced track limits, what a shame there for him. It just come into the pits as well, but it can't have been a speeding violation, because speeding violations, they hit you with a stop-go. It's like, no, drive-through, no drive-through, no. Now you're stopping in the pit lane in your box, and you have to wait 30 seconds to go. That's the type of penalty you get for speeding in the pit lane. As we lost another driver from the race. Who is that we've just lost? I'm just going to pause my stream so I can cross-reference and see who's no longer here. So it wasn't him. Oh, it must have been a disconnection, because it wasn't a back market, it was Corday. So we have lost Corday here. What a shame. As he was running in 9th place, it would have been a decent haul of points here for Corday, but he's retired from the race. If he can get himself back in, he'll still be able to finish the race and get some points. If he can get himself back into the server, we might be able to see him finish this race. But Epiphany into the pits here at the end of lap 22, so he's now sat in that box and waiting for the all clear from his pit crew once his fuel and tyres and all that stuff are sorted. But currently it's still Jazzman leading the races. He's now on lap 24, and he's got high grade just behind him there. So yeah, at the moment it's still Jazzman doing the business here. As we can see Epiphany there in the pits, you can see RGT there's doing his drive through now, so he's now getting that done and out of the way. whilst we're here, guys, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's tuned in here tonight for the PS5 GT3 League. If you do enjoy, or you have enjoyed so far, please do smash the like button. As we can see, that Epiphany has got done for a stop-go penalty whilst he was in the pits. Oh no. And that is so unfortunate there for him. So Epiphany there, unfortunately speeding in the pit lane, and he's going to have to come in again. See, this is the thing on ACC. If you get done for speeding in the pits, if you come steaming into the pits at a speed that's unsafe, the race stewards are like, okay, we saw that. Now the punishment for that is that you're going to have to come in and try it again. And so basically it's like, you know, alright, you failed it the first time, now can you do it the second time? It's almost like a driving test. It's like, okay, yeah, you failed that one, but do you want to come in and try it again? It's like, it's one of them. But currently Jazzman's still your leader at this point. He's coming over the line here to complete lap 25. No, sorry, complete lap 24. He's on to lap 25 of the race. He's coming up to put a lap on some traffic, which would appear to be, I can't actually see at this point who it is, if I'm perfectly honest with you. It's R. Parker just in front of him, so that's R. Parker running in P7, but obviously that's not representative that R. Parker's almost a lap down on Jazzman, because as we said before, Jazzman still needs to come in and make his pit stop at some point in the race, and R. Parker then moving aside, letting Jazzman through, not wasting any time trying to fight the race leader here. R. Parker's only 4 seconds behind Raki running in P6, so that's a battle that we could be seeing going on here for the rest of this race. Also got to factor in that High Grade and Spuzz need to come in for their mandatory pit stops at some point, and High Grade's coming in now. So I don't know if they'll gain any places on those two, but they could be battling for a position that's higher than 6th by the time we get to the end of the race, with High Grade now into the pits. Spuzz coming out of the final corner. Is he going to come in this lap? No, he stays out for the time being. Epiphany's coming in to serve that stop-go penalty, and so is RGT, so both of those two coming in here at the end of lap 24 to get their pit stops done. But it's not lap 24 for them actually, they're on lap 22 by the looks of it, 21 or 22, not sure. But currently you've got High Grade here, who seems to be off and away now. So there we go. So yeah, he's now trundling towards the end of the pit lane once again. But Jazzman's still your race leader at this point, as we can just see there. The stop-go penalty drivers just emerging out of the pits now, but Jazzman's still doing the business here. Spuzz also still yet to pit. Now where's High Grade come out in relation to guys like Raki and R. Parker? You can see Raki there's coming into the Villeneuve chicane. He's come out ahead of High Grade here, so High Grade's lost out to Raki, but he's come out ahead of R. Parker. No, he hasn't. Sorry, he hasn't. No, he's come out behind R. Parker. R. Parker now ahead of him, and you can see there in between them is a back marker. That's the number 12 car there. That is RGT, who gets onto the grass, and High Grade now up into some clean air, but High Grade's lost out to Raki and R. Parker. R. Parker's 6 seconds behind Raki at the moment though. Raki looking good for a P5, potentially a P4 maybe. When Spuzz comes in, we'll have to see. Maybe Raki could be picking up another position here in the closing stage of this race. That'd be a great result here for him. Run DJC driver here, Raki tonight. As we can see, Awesome Gumball saying good luck to everybody else tonight. Sorry for leaving, but I felt I would get nothing but more stress out of driving. More stress, more mistakes. This is my worst race this season. Unlucky Awesome Gumball, mate. Worst luck here tonight, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you back to your best next week. You had some great pace in the qualifying, but the start of the race didn't go well for you. Obviously, with I think a drive-through or a stop-go penalty, wasn't it? Some damage and then a stop-go. It kind of just all went from bad to worse for you, from what I saw. So massively unlucky for you there, mate. But yeah, hopefully you can bounce back next time. But yeah, that's really unfortunate there for Awesome Gumball. But thanks for joining us once again, and yeah, we will hopefully go again. But we got High Grade here running just 2.5 seconds behind R. Parker at this point. You can see those two coming into turn 1. There's R. Parker in P6, there's High Grade in P7, RGT in the pit lane, so he's going to be coming in and doing a stop-go penalty in a few moments time. Jazzman's still your race leader at this point, as he's just coming up to lap a car there. You can see that's Raki there just in front of him. So Jazzman continuing to pump in the laps at this stage. You've got Luca there running in third place. He's on the back here of Spuzz. Interesting night so far here at Motive for the PS5 GT3 League. Oh, Spuzz gets it all wrong, and Luca moves through up into second place. Spuzz there feeling the pressure. He's not on the same strategy as Luca. He's obviously got a pit still, but Luca now up into second place. Spuzz there making a big mistake as they came onto the brakes down the hill. Is he going to come in now? Yes, he does. So just decides just bail out of that that little rut that he's in there, bring it in, get his head back together, and go again. Now Max Power up into back onto the podium places. Max Power has been gaining on Luca in this second stint, so I wonder if Max Power maybe changed tyres in the pits. Potentially Luca didn't, because Max Power has been much quicker than Luca over the course of this stint. He's gained 3 seconds since they came in. They came in about 12 laps ago, so he's been gaining about 3/10 a lap as Max Power on Luca. So he's continuing to chip away, and as this race goes on, Luca's tyres will be going off more and more, and potentially bringing Max Power into this. Now the man we've got to watch out for is Jazzman, because he still has to come in before the end of this race. He is nearly a lap ahead of Luca, I think. Yeah, he's not far off of a lap ahead of these guys, which is quite a surprise. I wouldn't have thought he would be that far ahead. So I reckon he's going to come out quite a long way ahead of them, if I'm honest. Luca is just coming up towards the final chicane. Jazzman coming up to the top of the hill into that sort of left-hand crest. Here he comes up to the apex of the corner now. So Luca's coming on the exit of that chicane. Jazzman coming into Aquaminerale. That gap's well over a minute between Jazzman and Luca. It's well over half a lap. And we're expecting the Jazzman isn't going to be stopping for fuel or tyres or anything like that, so he's just going to be in and out of the box. No messing around for Jazzman when he comes in. So I think Jazzman's going to have quite a comfortable lead, to be perfectly honest, by the time we get to the end of this race. Luca just responded to Max Power on that last lap. You can see the gap only came down by 1/10. So as it stands, if they continue to lap at this pace, then Luca will hold on for P2. RGT in the pits, currently serving another stop-go penalty. He needs to stop speeding in the pits, otherwise he'll continue to get those stop-go penalties, and it's not going to get any better for him. The gap between Luca and Max Power stayed at just over just under 2.5 seconds at this point. So Max Power just gained another 0.2 on Luca on a previous lap, but he's not gaining by enough to really put him under substantial pressure. And Luca, as long as he's within a couple of tenths of a second a lap of Max Power's pace, should be alright to bring home P2. These guys obviously waiting on the pit stop of Jazzman, but I don't think Jazzman is going to lose really much at all to these guys, really. I'm going to count the gap between Luca and Jazzman to see when Jazzman gets to the hairpin. 7, 8, so we're on 10 seconds so far. 20. Yeah, there's about a 25-second gap on the track between Luca and Jazzman. So Jazzman is 25 seconds away from lapping Luca. I know you lose about 50 seconds, isn't it, in the pits? Yeah, I think it's about a 50-second loss if you have a literally just a stop and go. So I reckon we're going to see Jazzman come out about maybe 25-30 seconds ahead of Luca as it stands, by my reckoning. I could be wrong. It's quite a long pit lane at Imola, so that actually could be wrong. In all fairness, that could actually be wrong. It's about an extra 10-second pit lane, so maybe it'll be maybe a 15 or 20-second gap in Jazzman's favour by the time he comes in. Obviously, if he's continuing to lap quicker than him, it could be more like a 25-second gap by the time he comes in, or by the time we get to the end of the race. But I don't know, at this stage I think Jazzman should have quite a sizable lead. My reckoning at this point is that Jazzman is going to come out in the lead still. He's been setting purple lap times, he's been controlling this race since being left out on his own with Luca and Max Power presumably half tanking it. Jazzman putting a full tank of fuel in at the start, not having the pace compared to those two in the first stint, but in the second stint he's well and truly come into his own. As I said, he should have this race pretty much signed and sealed. R. Parker on the back of Raki, you can see these two having a great battle now for fourth. I think Raki's made a mistake somewhere, because R. Parker's now right within striking distance of him as they're coming into the Villeneuve chicane. But at the moment, R. Parker's just a little bit too far back. He's now looking to the outside, coming into the hairpin. Can he get the cutback? No, he's not going for the cutback. He's trying to keep it around the outside of Raki. Raki not with the greatest of exits here. R. Parker's now got a bit of his car alongside him, side by side up the hill. Raki should have the inside and should have it covered off into the corner, unless he needs to give him space on the outside. R. Parker's trying to make the space work, and I tell you what, he's got a great bit of traction there around the outside. Can he keep himself there for the inside, coming down the hill in towards Aquamarino? They're side by side, and R. Parker is going to keep it there and just tags the inside curve a little bit. Great move from R. Parker up into fourth place. Really gutsy move. Raki, fair play to him, didn't squeeze him out, didn't run him wide, and R. Parker up into fourth place. That was a great move there from R. Parker. And he takes fourth place in this race. These guys now, well, they're well off at the back of the podium places, with Max Powell currently sat in third place. They're not going to catch the podiums, but these guys having a great battle over fourth and fifth. Really is superb stuff here between these two. Jazzman here starting at lap 32 of this race. We've got a drive-through penalty for car number 15. That's Ludo there. RGT still in the pit lane at the moment. And Lucas actually gained a bit of time on Max Power over the last few laps. That gap's now over nearly 3 seconds between Luca and Max Power. So Lucas seems to be pretty much set in that second place. Ludo's now coming in to serve that drive-through penalty. That will promote Hunters up into 9th. And Hunters is just trying to put a lap, I think, on Yellow Army here. You've got a whole lap between P9 and P14. That is unbelievable. Big gaps in the mid-pack, I tell you, but how far is Hunters off of... Hunters only 5 seconds off of Spuz, so if he's got the pace here, Hunters could be on for a P8 in this race. He's now managed to put a lap there on Yellow Army. As Raki still he still hasn't given up here in his battle with R. Parker, to be fair. He's obviously been passed by him, but he's not saying die at this stage. Raki's still in this fight for fourth place. It was obviously a mistake from Raki that got R. Parker on the back of him to begin with. It wasn't R. Parker going quicker than Raki. It was a big mistake from Raki which dropped him into his path. So Raki, we know he's got the speed to be able to fight R. Parker back. But R. Parker always all over the curve there coming out of the last corner. And Raki might be able to get the run here on the the exit, coming down the start finish straight. He's going to get a little bit of that BMW alongside him. Our Parker is going to see him coming on the right hand side. The Aston's got the speed over the BMW on the straight, but Raki with the much better exit will probably have the momentum. Now our Parker's straight line speed starting to come into play. He's starting to come back at Raki, but he's having to tuck in because he's not far enough alongside. And Raki back up into 4th place there into turns 1 and 2, the chicane. And Raki there, beautifully done. But our Parker's going to fight him all the way to the flag. These two having a great battle as the race leader Jazzman is in the pits. So the big news here, he's already been in his box and he's now off and away. I think he's going to be miles ahead, to be fair. And he is. He's absolutely centuries ahead. How on earth is he that far ahead? He's coming into turn 1. And Luca's not even out of the final corner. How? I just don't understand. I'm not. I just don't understand. How is he that far ahead? I'd say he's about 30 seconds ahead, and I just don't know where he's gained that time. That's mad. Fair play, but I just don't know where he's gained it. Fair play. You've got to give kudos to Jazzman. He's just insane. I reckon he's about 30. I reckon he's over 30 seconds ahead of Luca. I just can't work out where he's gained it. I know those two, Luca and Max Power, lost a bit of time in the pits, putting fuel in. I know Jazzman had the pace in the second stint. I think Jazzman is just that much quicker. I think it just comes down to his pace. He's just that much quicker. When it came down to the fuel loads, they made a huge difference in the first stint, and it maybe exaggerated Luca and Max Power's pace a lot. But Jazzman is nearly 40 seconds clear. As they're coming over to start lap 34. So 2 laps have to go here for Jazzman. Max Power there is he's just ahead of Ludo. Yeah. Ludo in 11th place, a lap down here on Max Power. So Max Power gets ahead of him. Gap between Luca and Max Power just over 2 seconds. Hunter's not really gaining on Spuzz anymore, but Raki's dropped a little bit off of our Parker. The gap's over a second. PS Fid's starting to catch high grade a little bit, but the battle is not really happening at the moment. Ludo is within a second and a half of Tom at this stage. Power trying to put a lap here on the number 21 of Tom Quarantine. Tom's not making it easy for him though, by the looks of it. As now we can see Max Power making a move to the inside, coming over the Brian Crest left-hander, and that's now a job done there for Max Power then. As Ludo is within 7/10 of Tom here, so that's probably why Tom wasn't making it so easy there for Max Power, because he knew that Ludo's coming for him and knows that any sort of if he makes it easy for Max Power, then he's got Ludo right on him, but Ludo's on the back of him anyway as they're now coming down the hill towards the final 2 corners. Absolutely shattered right now, but Ludo might fancy a crack here at Tom on this final lap of the race. Has he got the grip to do so? Notice on the timing screen that our Parker's now got a 1.4 second gap over Raki. PS Vids is still closing on high grade, but I think he's just got to that party a little bit too late. There's Ludo here looking to the inside on Tom. Into turn one they come. Tom's got that held onto at the moment. Ludo looking to the inside into Tamburello. Just can't make the move. Just a little bit too far away from Tom Quarantine here. Where's the race leader, Jazzman? He's got just a few corners left to go here in this race. Ludo though still trying to pressure Tom. So they've got half a lap left to go here in this race. Jazzman though is coming out of the final corner and out onto the start finish straight, and it is going to be Jazzman's second win of the season here at Motive for the PS5 GT3. The former GT3 PS5 champion, the latest PS5 GT3 champion, takes 2 out of 3 here so far this season. Fastest lap as well, plus pole position. I tell you what, all the battles that he had with Luca and Max Power in the first stint was pretty much down to the fact that he was running a full tank of fuel compared to those guys who were on half tanks, and when it came down to them all being on the same fuel loads, Jazzman absolutely ran away with it in the second half of the race. Was about 2 seconds a lap quicker than them. So an astonishingly dominant performance there from Jazzman. Takes a very convincing win here as Luca comes over 40 seconds adrift in second place. So Jazzman on average lapping a second a lap quicker, but that just doesn't really go to explain the pace in the second part of the race really at all. Obviously Jazzman's pit stop would have been about 25 seconds shorter than those guys, so he would have probably, to be fair, he's probably gaining, probably about a second and a half a lap in the second stint. So Jazzman there, dominant performance from him. Lucas second, Max Power takes the final podium place. R. Parker's going to come over to take 4th place, comes out on top in that battle over Raki, who finishes in 5th. Spars has finished ahead of Hunters, ahead of Tom, Ludo, Brando, Epiphany, Yellow Army, Scooter, Paul and Tuono have finished the race. Highway comes over P6, PS Vid 7th. So that's Spars in 8th, Hunters in 9th, Tom in 10th, Ludo in 11th, Brando 12th, Epiphany 13th, Yellow Army 14th. The order's disappearing as people are leaving the session now, so I can't read you out the order, but that is that, ladies and gentlemen. That is the race here for the round 3 of the GT3 League here at Motive on the PlayStation 5 here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. If you did enjoy it, guys, if you're watching it for the first time, please do smash the like button. If you want to join us, go to www.motiveracing.com. That's where you can get involved in the action. We've got leagues starting up next year on the PS5 and the PC, which we'll be announcing in a couple of days time, so yeah, keep your eyes out for that. That's the final finishing order on your screen there, if you want to just have a quick little look at that. And yeah, thanks everybody once again to all the drivers for joining us. If you enjoyed watching it back and you want to share it with any friends, family members, or otherwise associates, then definitely feel free to do so, and hopefully catch you all next week. Hopefully we'll have the guys who weren't here this week back next week, and we can have a 20 plus man grid again. That'd be great. Also, I'm hoping maybe to start a second tier for the PS5 League next season. If we can get 40 drivers signed up, we can do like 2 tiers of 20, or we can work it out. We can figure something out. Maybe we could get sort of 45, 50 drivers signed up and run 2 proper tiers. That would be really cool if we could do that. But yeah, well, more on that soon anyway. But yeah, thanks everybody once again. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers everybody, and yeah, good night.